Discussing mental illness in my family, especially, is very taboo, and therefore none of my relatives really seek treatment for any disease. Mental illness is very stigmatized, especially in older generations, and is not seen as a condition that should receive medical attention. The definition of medicalization is a realm of treatment that has expanded in someone's mind, but the opposite in this case would be the realm of treatment not expanded, as would be the opposite of medicalization. In my personal experience, and after talking to my mom, after years of hyperactivity and severe lack of motivation and focus, she decided to have my brother evaluated because she was alarmed at the severity of his symptoms during online school due to COVID. Previously, my parents attributed those symptoms to just immaturity or quote unquote being a boy. But during a routine checkup, our pediatrician was very concerned when my brother was asked questions to make up a story and was unable to organize those thoughts to answer simple questions. Continuing with the medicalization of mental illness, once a psychiatrist later confirmed the diagnosis of ADHD in February 2021, my father was very against medication of those symptoms, even though it was highly recommended as the only viable treatment for the severity of his condition. After therapy for reducing symptoms was attempted, my mom decided to talk to the one teacher at my brother's middle school that he was willing to work with. And upon discussing with that teacher, she realized that he had his own experience in dealing with children who had ADHD because his own children were diagnosed with that condition. My mother then realized that the only reason that his children were able to function relatively normal was due to medication, and that is when they were finally convinced to try microdosing medication to alleviate his hyperactivity and improve his focus in school. After researching and talking to family members on both maternal and paternal sides of the family, my mother discovered that severe ADHD symptoms were very common on both sides, yet never treated. This resulted in some relatives who are very shy and antisocial, and could possibly suggest that there is a genetic basis for hyperactivity and attention disorders. Moving on, sympathy and inclusion in healthcare is something that is very prevalent in my family's life. In a story that my mother told me, she has relatives who reside in Mexico, but they were able to receive the COVID vaccine in Central California, given that they were able to make the drive, because they were ineligible to receive it in Mexico due to how slow the distribution was. Another story, my mom has an aunt who is on dialysis treatment, and she receives that treatment in Arizona without having prior health insurance, and she does not pay for this treatment out of pocket. She also told me that the reason that she's able to go through these treatments in the US is because that there are charities in these border towns of Arizona that have been established to cover the cost of undocumented or non-citizens long-term treatment medical bills, such as dialysis, by paying them in anonymous donor chunks. This is an example of sympathy as described in Hoffman's article. And there are also programs in border towns and border states to help educate immigrants and help them work towards gaining citizenship, jobs, and healthcare in the United States. When it comes to exclusion and facing exclusion from healthcare, my mother was quick to answer about how she felt about health insurance in the United States. Our personal family health insurance is very expensive and it only covers in-state care. One personal example that my mother was quick to state is that when I had to go to the emergency room here in Tennessee, my California insurance plan was very had a very meager coverage, and therefore my parents had to pay a large chunk of that out of pocket. My father also has a chronic condition, type 2 diabetes, that requires medication and frequent doctor visits, so he required a more inclusive and more expensive insurance plan for his own needs. The rates of our family insurance are higher because there is only one primary holder, my mom, and 3 dependents for my 2 siblings and I. Our health insurance also does not initially cover vision and dental, and my parents have to pay a premium to include that coverage because of how frequently we need it. In conclusion, I was fortunate enough to be able to interview someone who has such a wide breadth of knowledge and experience of many concepts that we discuss in this course. Through learning about her experience in immigrating and starting a life in the United States, with the barriers she and other immigrants have to overcome in order to start a life here, and how she managed to navigate the healthcare system, I have significantly more understanding of how the topics we discuss in this course can apply to real life. Thank you.